Hi, my name's Emma, and the last time I saw my parents, they told me I wasn't part of the family anymore. It happened at my sister's graduation, on a stage I helped her reach, in a life I helped build, sitting in a chair they made sure was as far from the family row as possible. Let me back up. I hadn't seen them in years, not since I packed a single duffel bag and left without slamming the door, because slamming would have meant they noticed. Since then, birthdays passed without texts. Holidays came and went like forgotten appointments. Silence mostly, except for the invitation. It came 3 weeks before the ceremony. Thick cardstock, elegant gold font. My name spelled right for once. No handwritten note. Just the university seal and an RSVP. I hesitated. Not because I didn't want to see her. I did. God, I did. But because nothing about that envelope felt like an olive branch. It felt more like a formality. Like I was being included the same way you include your dentist in the holiday newsletter, out of habit. But I went. Maybe I needed closure. Maybe I still hoped to be surprised. Or maybe I just didn't want to be the kind of person who stopped showing up. That morning, I ironed the hem of my only decent dress twice, like it might make up for all the things I hadn't been invited to before. I stood in front of the mirror and practiced smiling. It didn't take. The campus auditorium was packed. Laughter echoed off marble floors and polished banisters. Proud parents in suits, younger siblings holding signs, air thick with the buzz of achievement. Then I walked up to the usher. "Hi, I think my family has seats reserved." He flipped a page. "Name?" "Emma Porter." He scanned. His eyes barely moved. "Not on the list." I laughed. Actually laughed, because denial's a reflex I haven't quite broken. "I'm her sister, Nora Porter. The valedictorian?" He shrugged. "Sorry. General seating is back there." He pointed toward the far left bleachers, the part where the light barely reached and the audio crackled. I blinked. "You're kidding, right? They're literally my—" Then my phone buzzed. "Mom." I answered quickly. "Hey, there's some kind of mix-up with seating." Her voice was clipped, cheerful, in that careful way she always uses when people are around. "Emma, just go to General. It's better this way. Today is about your sister." My mouth went dry. "Are you serious?" "I don't want drama. Please, she's earned this. Let's not ruin it." "Not we. Just me." I was the threat. "You didn't even put me on the list?" A pause. Then, "You can see her after." I hung up without saying goodbye, walked to the back, found a seat between a coughing toddler and someone FaceTiming the ceremony. The sound system echoed like we were underwater. I couldn't even make out her speech. Only the applause. I saw them, though, from my seat in the shadows. Mom dabbing her eyes like a Broadway matinee. Dad grinning like he'd built her from scratch. Nora, front and center, in her cap and gown, waving to the crowd. Then to our parents. Not once did she glance to the back. Maybe she couldn't see me. Maybe she didn't want to. I sat there, still as stone. I didn't cry. I didn't even blink. I just watched them live a life I was cut out of, so cleanly you'd think I never belonged there to begin with. And then, after the diplomas and the staged photos and the slow shuffle of people toward the reception hall, I saw something that would change everything. They were standing near the exit, arms linked, Mom, Dad, Nora, laughing, champagne flutes in hand. A family, just one daughter. As I walked toward them, Dad turned and met my eyes. He didn't flinch. He didn't smile. He just said, "Emma, don't do this here." My voice came out quiet, steady. "You already did." I turned, walked out into the early summer heat. My heels clicked against the pavement like punctuation. No one followed me, but they should have. Because what they didn't know, what they hadn't even bothered to consider, was that while they'd spent years pretending I didn't exist, I had been gathering the truth. And in a few days, it would tear everything they built apart. On the drive home from the graduation, I didn't turn on the radio. I wanted silence. I needed to hear my own thoughts. And for the first time in a long time, they were loud. It wasn't just what happened today. It wasn't just the seat I didn't get, or the champagne toast I wasn't invited to. It was the quiet, practiced ease with which they erased me, like they'd rehearsed it, like I'd never been in the picture to begin with. And I don't mean that metaphorically. There was a photo once, an old one from Nora's middle school spelling bee. We'd all gone. I stood beside her on stage after she won. I remembered the flash. I remembered Mom's voice telling me to scoot in. We both smiled, even though I was the one who had to skip my own swim meet to be there. Years later, I saw that photo framed in the hallway. They had cropped me out, not blurred, not faded, gone. When I asked about it, Mom said, "Oh, the lighting was weird on your side. It didn't look good." And that was the story of our family. Nora's image mattered. Mine needed editing. Still, I stayed, for years. I thought maybe if I worked harder, showed up more, kept my voice soft and my disappointments softer, I'd eventually earn my way back into the frame. I did her science projects when she panicked. Helped Dad with the taxes when Mom claimed Excel gave her migraines. Took Mom to the hospital when she twisted her ankle and no one else could be bothered. Picked up Nora's dry cleaning, bought the groceries, paid the electric bill once when Dad forgot. I was useful, but never visible. The worst memory isn't dramatic. No yelling, no slamming doors. It was a Tuesday night. I had just gotten accepted into a summer mentorship at a local architecture firm. My professor told me it was a big deal, that I was the only one in the department who'd been chosen. I came home beaming. I walked in to see Mom and Dad on the couch, watching Nora's cheer practice video on the TV. "Guess what?" I said, trying not to sound too eager. Mom hit pause, barely glancing up. "What is it?" "I got the internship, the one at Harrow and West. They only take 2 people a year." Dad blinked. "Is that the place with the glass building downtown?" "Yeah, that's the one." He nodded slowly. "Huh." Silence. Then Nora came downstairs in one of Dad's old college sweatshirts. He lit up. "She looks just like your sister did at that age," he said to Mom, voice full of nostalgia. They smiled at her. She smiled back. And just like that, the moment passed. No congratulations, no questions, no celebration, just moved on. When Nora was 14, she told a teacher I'd stolen her AirPods. I didn't. She found them in her gym bag 2 days later. She never apologized. I got detention for refusing to cooperate. When she scratched the car backing out of the garage, I offered to take the fall because she was already failing driver's ed, and Mom said, "Don't make things harder for your sister." When she threw up at a party, I picked her up at midnight without asking questions, got her home, tucked her in, and cleaned her shoes in the sink. She texted me the next morning, "Thanks, don't tell anyone." That was the only thank you I ever got from her. So no. Today wasn't an accident. It was just the latest chapter in a story they've been rewriting for years. And this time, I wasn't going to disappear quietly. I got home to my apartment, which still smelled faintly like paint and takeout. The lights flickered when I flipped the switch, again, but it felt more like mine than any place I'd lived before. I dropped my bag by the door and sat on the floor, letting the exhaustion settle in. Then I opened my laptop. There it was. A folder I'd started 2 years ago. Titled simply, Proof. Inside, emails, screenshots, scanned documents. One particularly damning audio clip I recorded during an argument I wasn't supposed to hear. I hadn't known what to do with it. Back then, I didn't even know why I kept it. Some part of me must have known the truth would matter, eventually. That eventually had arrived. Later that night, Nora texted me. "Nora. Hey, hope you got home safe. No apology, no acknowledgement, just surface-level civility." I stared at the screen for a while, then typed, "Me. Do they know what you did?" She didn't answer. Instead, the typing bubble flashed, then disappeared. Then again. Finally, "Nora. Let's not start this." Start what? I thought. We were born into the same family, but only one of us was allowed to belong. I didn't respond. I just opened the audio file labeled Dad, October 17th. Listened again. Listened closely. The line that still hits like a punch to the gut? "Emma's too fragile to fight back. That's why we trust her to stay quiet." You'd be surprised what fragile people do when you stop watching. The email came at 2:11 a.m. No subject, no body text, just an attachment. The sender's name was unfamiliar, K. Langston, but the domain matched the university Nora just graduated from. I almost deleted it. Thought maybe it was spam or a phishing scam. But something about the timing, the silence of the hour, the way it sat in my inbox like it knew it wasn't supposed to be there. It made me pause. I opened it. A single PDF. At first glance, it looked like a standard scholarship notification. Except my name was on it. And the date? 4 years ago. It was addressed to me, Emma Porter, congratulating me on receiving a full-ride academic merit award through a private donor partnership. It included a response deadline. It included a note saying the award had been coordinated directly through your legal guardians for expedited processing. Except no one ever told me. And the signature at the bottom wasn't mine. I stared at the screen so long the words started to blur. Then I printed it out, hands shaking, and compared the signature to one of my old tax returns. It was forged, not sloppily, not cartoonishly. It was precise, like someone had taken their time, traced it over and over until it could pass for mine. Just enough. I grabbed the proof folder. Cross-referenced timelines. There it was. The year I applied to that program at Middleton State. The one I never got a response from. The one Mom said probably wasn't a fit anyway. She told me I'd gotten rejected. Told me it was too competitive. Told me not to take it personally. All while Nora, still in high school, was suddenly enrolled in private summer prep courses I didn't remember being able to afford. I called the number on the email, voicemail. Then I called again. Third try, someone picked up. Hello? A groggy voice, young, confused. Hi, sorry, I know this is random. This is Emma Porter. Someone forwarded me a scholarship document from your office, and I have some questions. A pause. A rustle of blankets. I don't work there anymore, the voice said. That was a student job. I just used the account to send what I found. You sent it on purpose? He exhaled. Yeah. Look, I don't know you, but your name was on the original award file and the note said it was rerouted to a sibling. It didn't sit right. I thought you should know. Rerouted. That word stuck. Why would they give it to my sister? The file said something about a family emergency, legal guardianship, shared household. Honestly, I don't know how it passed. It was 4 years ago, but it looked weird. I saved it before I left. There was a pause. Then he said quieter. You deserve to know, even if it's too late. I thanked him, hung up, and sat there with the printed letter in my lap. For years, I thought I hadn't been good enough, thought I just didn't make the cut, that maybe my dreams were a little too big for the boxes my family had built. But now, I realized the boxes weren't mine. They were placed around me. And locked. Later that week, I drove to the old post office near my childhood home. I still had a mailbox there under my name, mostly for junk mail and the occasional forgotten newsletter from college. The woman at the counter recognized me. Emma Porter. Haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, I'm back for a bit. Thought I'd check my box. She handed me a small bundle of mail, then paused. Oh, this came for you last month. Looks like someone tried to forward it, but the address was crossed out. She slid a thick envelope across the counter, handwritten, no return address, inside, an old acceptance letter, Middleton State, from 4 years ago. Tucked into the folds on crisp letterhead was a printed message. Congratulations again on your scholarship award. We look forward to welcoming you to our program this fall. I'd never seen it before, but clearly someone else had, because written in blue ink along the side margin, faint, rushed, was one line. Emma can't go. She's not ready. Use it for Nora. No signature. But I knew that handwriting. It was my mother's. I sat in my car afterward, doors locked, letter clutched in both hands like a confession. And I cried. Not from sadness, not even anger. It was grief. Grief for the version of me who spent years thinking I simply wasn't enough. Who tried harder, stayed quieter, made herself smaller just to avoid being a burden. She wasn't the failure. She was robbed. And I wanted her back. That night, as I scanned more documents into the proof folder, I got another unexpected message. This time from someone I hadn't heard from in over a year. Alex, I heard you were at Nora's graduation. I didn't expect that. Alex was complicated. We dated for 3 years. He was the only person who ever saw through the performance my family put on. The only one who told me once, you know it's not you, right? It's them. I didn't listen then. I thought he was being dramatic, or bitter, or just wrong. But now, Now I typed, me. You were right. He responded instantly. Alex. Want to talk? I hesitated. Then, me. Yes. We met the next day. A small coffee shop with wobbly chairs and too many succulents. It used to be our spot. He walked in wearing the same leather jacket I once bought him for his birthday. Still fit him like a second skin. He didn't hug me. Just nodded, slid into the seat across from me and said, You look good. You look tired, I replied. We both smiled, the easy, bruised kind of smile people make when they know better now. You knew, I said quietly. Back then. He stirred his coffee. I didn't have proof, just gut instinct. I pulled the printed email from my bag, the one with the forged signature, set it on the table between us. He scanned it, whistled softly. Damn. They gave her my scholarship, Alex. He looked at me, not with pity, with clarity. What are you going to do? I leaned back in the chair. Tell the truth, finally. Nora always looked like someone who had her life alphabetized. Clean lines, perfect skin, every milestone timed like she'd been born with a planner in one hand and privilege in the other. From the outside, you'd think she earned it. Valedictorian, student council, leadership awards stacked like receipts she never had to pay for. But the thing about borrowed glory is it comes due eventually, and I had just found the invoice. Alex stayed longer than I expected. He didn't push. He didn't pry. He just sat with me that night, the old familiarity between us still intact, even if frayed. We talked like people who used to be in love, but had since moved on in different directions, until now. You're not doing this for revenge, he said softly, after I showed him the timeline I'd started piecing together. Right? I paused, thought about it. No, I said. I'm doing this because I'm tired of carrying silence like it's some kind of virtue. He nodded, understanding, then hit them where it hurts. That didn't mean screaming. That didn't mean drama. It meant something quieter, colder, more surgical. I started with the Scholarship Foundation. I called, asked questions. At first, they were vague. Standard protocol, privacy barriers. But when I mentioned I was requesting documentation for a potential fraud review, the tone shifted. I'm sorry, are you saying the award was transferred without your consent? The rep asked. I'm saying it was forged, I replied, and I have the letter to prove it. They went silent for a beat. Then, we'll open an inquiry. 2 hours later, I got a request for written testimony. The wheels had started turning. I moved next to the university's ethics board. The process was messier, more bureaucratic. But as soon as I submitted the forged signature and rerouted scholarship PDF, a case number was created. Then came the email I hadn't planned for. Nora. Subject? Seriously? Body. You're actually doing this? After everything I've done for you? I read it twice. Laughed once. Then hit reply. Me. What exactly have you done for me? She didn't answer. Not right away. But 3 days later I got a call from an unknown number. It was our mother. I almost didn't pick up. But some old reflex, some part of me still hoping for accountability, made my finger move. Emma. That voice. Still composed. Still sweetly strained, like a hostess pretending not to notice a roach under the tablecloth. I just spoke to Nora, she said. She's very upset. I bet she is. I think we should meet. I almost said no, but then I thought, fine, let's meet. Let her say whatever she needs to say. Let her show me one more time who she really is. We met at the country club, of course. Neutral ground, she called it. I called it exactly the place where reputation mattered more than reality. She arrived 10 minutes late, dressed in something muted and expensive, like she'd just stepped out of a catalog titled Suburban Matriarchs Who Pretend Well. She kissed my cheek like it meant nothing, sat across from me with folded hands. You look tired, she said. Must be genetic. She didn't smile, just cleared her throat and got to the point. Nora told me you're stirring up old things, things we agreed not to revisit. We didn't agree, I said. You decided, I stayed quiet. That's not fair. No, what's not fair is you taking away my future and giving it to someone else like it was a hand-me-down dress. Her nostrils flared. She was struggling. So was I. She needed it more. No, she wanted it more. That's not the same thing. Silence stretched between us like a cracked pane of glass. I made a choice. she said eventually. I did what I thought was best for our family. For your image of family, I corrected. Not the people in it. You always had a flair for the dramatic, she said coldly. Maybe that's why things never worked out for you. I stood up. I used to believe that, I said. Used to think if I just worked harder, stayed quieter, you'd finally see me. I reached into my bag and pulled out a small envelope, slid it across the table. This time I brought receipts. She didn't open it right away, just stared at it, as if the weight of it pressed heavier than the paper should have allowed. Emma, she whispered, if you go through with this, I already have. I walked out without finishing my drink. The fallout didn't come all at once. It trickled in. First, a notice of review from the university, Nora's post-grad admissions being placed on hold, pending investigation. Then whispers on the alumni board about ethical violations and donor misrepresentation. Then the local press, small-town gossip dressed as journalism, ran a piece about a scholarship scandal involving falsified documentation and an unnamed student from a prominent family. They didn't name Nora. They didn't have to. By the end of the week, she'd deleted her graduation photos from Instagram. By the next, she'd made her account private. And by the third, she called me. I didn't answer, but her voicemail played on loop in my mind that night. Emma, please, you've made your point. Can we just stop this? We're sisters. I sat in bed, phone in hand, eyes fixed on the ceiling. Funny, she didn't remember I existed for years. Now she wanted to remember that we shared blood. Blood doesn't entitle you to forgiveness, and silence is not a lifetime subscription to someone else's dignity. Growing up, my dad didn't yell. He didn't slam fists or doors. He didn't throw plates or raise his voice. He used a quieter kind of control, the kind that came dressed in logic and numbers, in phrases like, be reasonable, and it's just better this way. If Mom ran the emotional script of our family, Dad handled the contracts, and for years, I mistook his silence for neutrality. I see now, it was compliance. And worse than that, it was strategy. I was going through a box of old tax documents I'd stored years ago in Alex's garage, back when we were still together, and he offered to keep them safe during my last apartment move. I almost didn't check the brown envelope at the bottom. It was labeled 2019, joint filings, but I hadn't filed jointly with anyone. Not then. Curious, I opened it. Inside were copies of notarized forms, college-related disclosures, bank drafts, a transfer of academic account authority, listing John Porter as primary contact for Emma L. Porter. Then I saw it. A waiver of claim form, dated 6 weeks before the Middleton scholarship was finalized, signed Emma Porter. Only it wasn't my signature. It was his handwriting. He'd signed my name, under oath, under seal. I stood in the garage, surrounded by dust and broken folding chairs, holding evidence that my own father had impersonated me to legally strip me of my future. I wanted to be shocked, but I wasn't. I was tired, and tired is a dangerous thing to be. I didn't confront him right away. I needed more than anger. I needed clarity. And if he was going to explain, I wanted it recorded. So I called him. Dad, can we talk? He hesitated. Now? I'll come by, just a few minutes. Is this about Nora? Isn't it always? He sighed. Fine, but keep it civil, Em. I'm not in the mood for theatrics. Theatrics. It was always their favorite word for anything that made them uncomfortable. When I arrived at the house, it looked exactly the same. Trim hedges, clean driveway, the ceramic goose statue still wearing the seasonal bow tie like some cursed family mascot. Dad opened the door with his usual calm. Crisp shirt, reading glasses in one hand. Nothing about him said, I stole your identity and handed your future to someone else. But I saw it now, in the little things, the careful way he stood, the way he always kept conversations one layer above the truth. We sat in the den. No Mom, no Nora, just us. He leaned back in the leather armchair like we were discussing mortgage rates, not betrayal. All right, he said. Go ahead. I pulled the folder from my bag, laid out the documents on the coffee table. He glanced at them, didn't even flinch. Where did you find these? You signed away my scholarship, Dad. I did what made sense. You forged my name. I protected you. The word hit like acid. He went on, smooth as ever. You were floundering. You didn't have direction. Nora had a plan. A real shot. I couldn't let that slip through our fingers. Our fingers? I echoed. You're my daughter. I know what's best for this family. But I'm not part of it, right? Not really. He looked at me then, really looked, and for the first time I saw it, not guilt, not regret, just inconvenience. You've always made things harder than they had to be, Emma. So you erased me. He sat forward, voice lower now. You weren't going anywhere. You freeze under pressure. You overthink. I didn't ruin your future. I optimized it. That word, optimized, like I was a project gone inefficient, like I was a bad investment. I reached into my bag, took out my phone, and placed it gently on the table. The screen blinked. Recording saved. He stiffened. You recorded this? Of course I did. You think this will make people sympathize with you? You'll look bitter, vindictive. No, I said quietly. I'll look like someone who finally stopped lying for your sake. He stood. You're playing with fire. Then maybe you should have checked the smoke alarms before you lit the match. I left before he could respond, and for the first time in years, I didn't look back. 2 days later, an email arrived from the Scholarship Foundation. Their legal team had reviewed the documents. They'd verified the forgery. An internal memo was issued. It ended with, "We deeply regret this misallocation. We are pursuing legal recourse and institutional review." That same afternoon, the local alumni board reached out. They wanted a statement, not just a complaint, a timeline, a story. They were going public. Alex stopped by that night. He brought dinner, takeout from the Thai place I loved in college. I hadn't realized how hungry I was. You good? He asked. I nodded. I think so. You don't look good. I'm not sure I want to look good right now. He sat beside me, watched as I pulled the university site up on my laptop. Nora's name had been removed from the graduate feature page. She'll probably blame me forever, I said. He shrugged. Or she'll finally tell the truth. She doesn't know how. She might learn. I looked at him. And what about me? Do I go back to normal now, whatever that is? He didn't answer right away. Then, you build something new, something that's yours. No family strings, no stolen blueprints. I took a deep breath. I don't want to burn the house down. You didn't, he said. You just turned the lights on. It didn't start with a scream. It started with a packet. 6 tabs, bound in a soft black folder. Clean, unlabeled. Just enough weight to feel like something you shouldn't ignore. Inside, notarized documents, audio transcripts, email threads, a notarized statement from the Scholarship Foundation, and a single photo of my name, printed clearly on an official acceptance letter that never reached me. I dropped it off at the university's alumni board first, then at the office of the Chancellor's Committee, then finally to the trust that funded the scholarship my sister used to launch her brilliant academic journey. I didn't write a note. I didn't ask for anything. I just let the paper speak. By the end of the week, I received a message from a senior administrator. Miss Porter, your documentation has initiated an institutional review. We are deeply sorry. Corrective action is already underway. Corrective action. I liked how clinical that sounded, cold and direct, just like how it was taken from me in the first place. The next wave was quieter, but sharper. Nora's name was quietly scrubbed from the university's online alumni highlights. Her LinkedIn bio suddenly changed from summa cum laude to simply graduate. Then came the whispers, from people who once clapped the loudest. An anonymous blog post surfaced, written by a former classmate. It referenced a golden child who wore someone else's future like couture. No names, but everyone knew. And in the middle of it all, I sent one final envelope, to Nora, hand-delivered. It contained only 2 things, a copy of the acceptance letter with her name nowhere on it, and a sticky note in my handwriting that read, "You didn't earn it, and now you no longer have to pretend you did." No threats, no confrontation, just truth, and truth doesn't need punctuation. The phone rang the next morning. Mom, again. I didn't pick up. But I listened to the voicemail. This time, her voice didn't sound sweet. It sounded like a woman running out of ways to spin a narrative. Emma, please. We need to talk. What you've done, it's irreversible. She wasn't wrong, but not for the reason she thought. This wasn't about what I'd done, it was about the years they thought I wouldn't. I finally heard from Dad. A letter, not a call, typed, clinical. He didn't say sorry, not once. Just, "You've made your point. I hope you feel better now." Funny how when you challenge the architect of a lie, they always call you emotional. I folded the letter once, then again, slid it into the trash unopened. I didn't need more evidence. I had enough of that for a lifetime. 2 weeks later, I stood outside a quiet brownstone apartment in a different city, different skyline, different air. A job offer had come through, research associate at a small but prestigious urban design nonprofit. I'd applied months ago on a whim, never expecting a call back. But I'd gotten one, and the woman on the phone had said, "We love your story, not the scandal, your work, your integrity." I wasn't sure what hit harder, that someone saw my worth, or that they didn't need to steal it from someone else to believe in it. I signed the lease that afternoon, bought furniture with money I'd saved, money I used to think I'd need to survive a family emergency. Turns out, the emergency was leaving them. The last time I saw Nora was at a cafe near campus. She didn't know I was there. She sat alone, scrolling through her phone, sunglasses on indoors, like the shame might stain her skin. I didn't go over. I didn't say anything. I just watched. And in that moment, for the first time, she looked like someone who finally understood what it meant to carry weight that wasn't hers. Sometimes people ask if I regret it, if I wish I'd kept quiet, taken the high road, let it go. But silence is only noble when it costs you nothing. Mine cost me everything, and I was done paying. A few months into the new job, I got a package. No return address. Inside, a photo. Me and Nora. From when we were kids. Both of us in Halloween costumes. She was a princess, of course. I was a knight. On the back in smudged pencil it said, "You always protected me. I just didn't know how much until now." No signature. But the handwriting was shaky, real. I didn't frame it, but I kept it. Not as a gesture of forgiveness, but because even now, I'm still the one who remembers the whole story, and I'm no longer afraid to tell it. Sometimes the people we trust the most are the ones who silence us the longest. I learned that the hard way, but I also learned that reclaiming your story isn't about revenge. It's about choosing yourself, even when no one else will. You don't have to shout to be heard. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is walk away quietly and never return. Have you ever felt erased by the very people who were supposed to protect you? What would you do if the life meant for you was handed to someone else? If this story touched something deep in you, leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts, or even just where you're watching from. And hey, if this one didn't land for you, I'd still love to hear why. Let's connect, because stories like this aren't just mine. They belong to all of us. If you found this video powerful or relatable, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. More real human stories are coming your way.